It was a Thursday night. It was the 5th of November. I had arranged to call my girlfriend in Western Australia, and we picked 8 p.m. I thought it would be a good idea to go for a walk at the same time, just for some privacy. I left my house at 7:57 because I pressed start activity on my Garmin. I had a bit of a step goal that I wanted to keep up. I remember leaving my house and looking up at the sky and thinking, holy moly, it's a beautiful evening. The stars were super bright. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. It was really nice weather too. I turned left out of my street and crossed the road, aiming for a path. I sent my girlfriend a selfie saying, "I'm ready to take your call," and I put my headphones in. She sent me a message back straight away and said, "I'll call you in 5 minutes." And then within 30 seconds, I was grabbed. At first, I thought it was somebody I knew. So there wasn't a huge amount of fear, which I look back on and I think, whoa, that's crazy. I was grabbed from behind by a person taller than me, and they grabbed me so like this. They, kind of locked my arms down. And after a second, I smelt him and I heard what he was saying, and I then realised that I was in so much trouble and that I was alone. In the dark. He was saying, "Please, please, please, just let me do it. Please, 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 just let me do it." And I was still like, what is happening? Like, how can this be happening? He was pushing me forward into bushland that was on our right. The path we were on is right next to a big vacant space of bushland with, dense trees and and he was really in control of the situation just because he had the upper hand of my arms being pinned and he was behind me. I have walked that stretch of path hundreds of times, and I knew where he was taking me. I knew there was an entrance into the bush or forest land a little further down, and I could tell by where he was directing us that's where he wanted to go. I also knew that there was a pile of dirt, which I think was to stop cars going in there. So I definitely knew where he was trying to take me. I felt his need to get me into that place, so I tried to take as much control back as I could and leant forward and started running. It was kind of like he was kind of on my back, just holding on, but he was steering and I was just trying to get away, and I didn't want to go into that bushland. Once we got to the spot where I knew where he was going to take me, I pretty much slammed myself into that high pile of dirt because I knew he was going to try and get me over it into the bushland. So at this point we we're kind of wrestling. I was whipping around and he was still holding me while I was, you know, face, knees, elbows in the dirt. And then, yeah, I was just still trying to get away, and he was just holding on while still begging me to let him do it. Please, please, please let me do it. And the whole time I screamed a scream that it actually shocked me how loud it was, and I did not stop. I screamed for 5 minutes. I screamed, no help, because I was like, surely someone's going to hear me scream. My parents and all my friends know that I have the loudest, most insane scream, and I kind of thought that would save me or get me out of trouble. So I just kept screaming. He was still on me, like his whole body, but he'd let go of my hands. And at this, it's so funny, the timeline, and I'm not sure, you know, when things happened exactly, but I had my upper body free, but he was leaning on me. So I was knee down, you know, on all fours, on my chest, on the dirt mound, and he was on top of me, behind me. And he, I just remember whipping around, like just like this, and just moving my top half of my body, like, yeah, it's all I could do. At one point, I remember feeling around in the dirt, thinking there's something I can hit him with, and I picked up what I thought was a big rock, but it was just clay, and I went to throw it back, but it just crumbled in my hands. And then I picked up and then I found a long stick, and I thought, he's not hurting me. I thought, he's not hurting me. He wants what he wants, but he's not trying to hurt me. Because at that time I was also thinking, please don't hit me in the head. I had this image in my head once I was on all fours that he was going to hit me in the head with a rock, and then I would just be unconscious and he'd be able to do whatever he wanted. And I just didn't want to die. Oh. So when I had that stick in my hand and I could have hit him in the head, I thought, if I hit him in the head, but it's not hard enough, I might irritate him and it might make him hurt me. So I made a quick decision to just let the stick go. I still whipped my body around, and he was still begging me and saying, please, 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 just let me do it. Just let me do it. Come on, just let me do it. And I'm just like, I just remember screaming, no. At one point, I'm not sure when, he did get my pants and underwear down, and I did feel his penis he was trying to rape me. So I was whipping the top half of my body around the whole time, but as soon as I realised that my pants were down, I started tucking my pelvis, moving my pelvis around, and just trying to make it as hard as I possibly could. Before I realized he wasn't trying to hurt me, or I don't think he was going to try to kill me. I had a moment of, oh my gosh, just let him do it. Like, if he just wants one thing, just let him do it. And then fight and get out of there, and then he hopefully won't try to kill you. Just let him do it. And it only lasted for 1 second, and then I was like, no, and I can continue to whip myself around and just back and forward, side to side, just whatever I could do in that small little section where he allowed me to be. And then he just kind of got off me, and I remember turning on my back and then just trying to kick him and boot him. And then it's like I could feel the energy shift, and I got so scared because I'm like, I'm now in an even vulnerable position on my back. I do have my legs, but I'm, not a nice position to be in. And he then just kind of moved off to the side, and he said, fine, you can go. So I just got up and I ran, and I looked back at him, and he was picking something up off the ground, and I remember running and pulling up my pants, and then I turned right onto McGregor Road, and I ran, which felt like forever. And then a car came, and I stood in front of the car and just would not let them stop, and I was like, please stop. And then there was a young man in the passenger seat, and he wound his window down this much, and I don't even know what I said, and I just jumped in the back of their car. The beautiful lady that let me in, I'm so grateful for her, because the run towards anybody was so long. She did a big U-turn and then started driving towards the highway to go to the police station. But on the way, I saw 2 people that I know, and in my panic, I screamed, stop the car. And then before she'd actually stopped, I jumped out and started screaming in my panic. I know I needed to be with people I knew. I needed to be with familiar people. I'll also never forget the look on their face, and I feel so sorry for them to have seen me like that. I'm not sure exactly what I said, but it was something along the lines of, someone tried to rape me, but obviously screaming and quite loud, and the look on their face, it breaks my heart that they had to see that. They cuddled me and sat me down, and the beautiful lady from the car came and sat with us as well, and then one of my friends called the police. A few police officers then arrived and, said, where did it happen, which way did he go? And I told them, and then they took off and tried to find him. And then more police came, and then soon, I think there was about 5 or 6 police cars. And I was then put into a big blue suit that covered my shoes and my head. We still kept my sense of humour, and we joked that I looked like a Teletubby. The suit was to preserve any DNA or, just any evidence really. I then had to go through what happened, and then I'm not sure how long after I was told that they had found him, and I was like, whoa, that was fast. I'd envisioned him hiding somewhere, and they'd found him. I was then put into a police car, and I was by myself at this point with two of the officers, of the detectives, and we drove back to the spot where it happened, and they had a quick look around and had to put some tape up and everything like that, because I was missing a few items. I was missing my headphones and my phone. My phone was found, but my headphones were still missing. They were the Jaybird ones that plug into your ears and then go around the back. And then we went to the hospital. That was a funny experience. You see it on TV quite a bit, the process, and you're taken through the back doors, and you sit down and you wait for people, and then you get taken to a room, and then they have to call a particular doctor in who's on call for this type of thing, because not every doctor or nurse has the correct training. A counsellor also came in, and I listened to what she said, but I was just like, I'm not in the headspace right now to talk about it, or I kind of thought tonight I have a job to do. Like, I've got to get through these tests, and then the next job will be the statement, and then each time something's required of me, I think of it as a job, so it makes it easy for me to do. So you sit in a room, and I had a friend with me. We sit in the room, and the doctor came, and we went through where he touched me. I also didn't add, in the beginning during the attack, he was also kissing me on the face, on the cheeks, on my right cheek. He was pulling my head to the side and kissing me and begging me to let him rape me. And then I was taken to a room. I decided to do that by myself. And there was the male doctor and a female nurse. And that was hard. That was the first time since what had happened that I had been alone with my thoughts. And first you stand on a big poster-sized bit of paper, and then you take off all your clothes, and any dirt that falls out or anything that falls out of your clothes goes onto the paper, and they collect it. A lot of dirt fell out of my shorts and underwear, and I realised as well I had never gotten to actually pull up my underwear, so my underwear was halfway down and my shorts were all the way up. A lot of dirt came out. I then had to put each piece of clothing in a bag, and they labelled it accordingly. I was then allowed to use the bathroom. I had been busting for a while then, but I wasn't allowed to go just because of DNA, which I understood. And they swabbed my cheek, they took samples from underneath my filthy fingernails because they were just covered with dirt. And then they took vaginal swabs inside and out, and then also swabbed my bum cheeks and that whole area. And I remember laying there and just, it was like I said, it was the first time I was alone with my thoughts, and I was just like, oh, that happened. Because, after it we stayed quite light and making Teletubby jokes, and but it was the first time it really sunk in. So then the officers told me that I could go home and come in to do the statement the next day, which I thought was a really great idea because I also thought that I would possibly be able to remember more the next day. So I went back to my friend's house and I tried to sleep. I went into the police station and told them what happened, from me eating dinner to what I was wearing. I was wearing Lorna Jane black shorts and a Lululemon coral coloured top. And I felt good. I felt good that night. I remember leaving and feeling good, and I remember looking at the picture and also thinking, oh, you look happy. And then so I gave him my statement from eating dinner to being in my friend's arms. It was quite hard to talk about the next day because I had remembered some things. I also learned that he lived around the corner from me in a care home. The police knew who he was because when he had been let out on bail from doing this in July to a girl in the Cairns CBD, the police were alerted that a high-risk person was moving into the neighbourhood. After I had told the police what had happened, a few of them went straight to his house. He had showered, but they found his clothes still covered in dirt. The police found out that when he spotted me, he was with somebody, and he told the other person what his plans were, and the other person said, I don't want anything to do with that, and then ran back to the carer's home to let them know. He had 300 metres to chase me down. And I think back to it and I think, I didn't even hear you. I heard 2 loud steps before I was grabbed. That's it, just 2 loud steps. And I did have headphones in, but there was nothing playing because I was just waiting for a call. I had started my Garmin when I left my house, and didn't realize it had obviously been running the entire time. And I stopped it on my way to the hospital in the police car. And you can see the pattern of us in the bushland and how I try to get away. And then you can see where I get in the car and where she does a big U-turn. And then you can see where I stop and where I'm safe. I have been going to see a psychologist. It's helping me cope with things. There are times when the flashbacks are so real and so terrifying and awful. And she's given me some tools, like taking my shoes off and feeling the floor underneath me. Or, touching something, feeling my body on a surface so I know that I'm safe. He has pled guilty. There was his DNA found on my clothes, which was such a relief after receiving multiple phone calls from the police regarding, where I was exactly touched and everything like that. It was such a relief to get that phone call. Normally after any phone call to do with this case, I am pretty wrecked. And unfortunately, most of the time I then have to go to work that afternoon. But you just get on with it. But there was DNA found on my clothes. On the 28th of June, he is being sentenced. I have written my victim impact statement, and I will ask the court if I can read it to the judge and to him. I'm now going to read you my victim impact statement. Hi, I'm Jade. I have a photo of myself that I took to send to a friend moments before you grabbed me, and I look back on it and I remember how peaceful and excited I was. Documenting each way that night has changed and flipped my world isn't easy for me to do, but I know it's essential for the court and for you to hear. That night you grabbed me, you took my power and control over my thoughts and my ability to control my reaction to my thoughts. You bully your way into my mind every single day, and on terrible days, every hour. These thoughts crash in while I'm at work, doing yoga, while I dream, exercise, out with friends, food shopping, and even driving. The part that takes hold of me and doesn't let go is when you grabbed me and wouldn't let go. Even when I tried to run, you wouldn't let me go. My own scream still rings in my ears. That shock of being grabbed from behind literally makes my stomach drop. Pure fear, pure dread. That roller coaster feeling. I vividly remember the moment you tried to rape me and how for a split second I thought about giving up in the hope you wouldn't kill me. Some days I'm focused on putting one foot in front of the other, and others I just want to disappear. When the flashbacks come, sometimes because of a notable trigger, they come hard and fast, and my current coping skill is to cover my eyes and put pressure on my head, no matter where I am. The startle response is a real thing. Small moments that would usually be funny shock and ruin me. Even someone touching my shoulder or kissing me on the cheek unexpectedly takes me back to that moment you grabbed me. A 6-year-old boy hugged me and wouldn't let me go. I immediately felt trapped and terrified by a 6-year-old boy. I am looking behind me and at night automatically believe anyone walking behind me is a threat. I'm struggling to relax and be present. It takes so much energy to be on edge all the time. Feeling like I need to rest and not being able to because I'm scared to be alone with my thoughts is so draining. If my mind is too quiet, I spiral. I have had 5 days where I felt if I left my room alone, I could end my life. Some days I can't breathe. You took my love for walking alone, not just at night but in general. Walking was my zen. It now brings me nothing but anxiety. I have attempted to walk around my area in Smithfield 3 times. And the last time I tried, I had an anxiety attack so bad I lost feeling in my legs. I loved my independence and love hiking solo and adventuring. Now I think twice and sometimes avoid the simplest things like going to the bathroom if it's slightly out of the way. I wonder if I'll ever feel safe again. You took my kindness. I now, at times, only have room for my emotions because they are so deep and full on, and anyone else's problems feel insignificant. I was a woman who would do anything for anyone. Now I don't seem to have the same energy. Sometimes when I'm alone, leaving my street is challenging because that's where you spotted me. I was leaving my road. I immediately imagine what you saw, what you thought. I put myself in your shoes. Being alone at night is hard because every sound is a threat. I don't sleep well and I wake up most nights thinking someone is outside my door or watching me through my window. I had whiplash for a week after. I fought you fiercely. I felt like I had been hit by a truck. I felt like I was fighting for my life. I thought you were going to kill me. Thinking you're about to die is a terrifying thought. Due to being in a constant state of stress, I lost my period for months after, and when I got it back, it came twice a month. For a month, my singing voice sounded different and my throat felt tense. Singing is my life, my career, and my livelihood. Not knowing if my voice would feel and sound the same was a horrible realization. It's because I screamed for a whole 5 minutes. I don't feel in control much, so I try to control strange things. I have developed disordered eating tendencies. I can feel the strain this has put on my relationships. Some friends don't know how to act around me, so they act like nothing happened, which makes me feel incredibly sad. I can feel very alone. I have moments of pure devastation, and sometimes it turns to anger, which isn't my normal state. You saw me from 200 meters away and came after me. You had 200 meters to change your mind and leave me alone, but you didn't. You made the selfish decision to ruin my present life. In a moment, you decided to take away my freedom and yours. That is what I will hopefully be allowed to read in court. It's a funny thing to try and find or search for the reason something happened. And I am a firm believer in everything happens for a reason, even the bad things. The week before sentencing, I tried to keep my mind in the present moment, but it's like my body knew what was coming. My energy disappeared, I cried a lot, I felt sick, and I couldn't really take one relaxed breath. When I found out he had pled guilty, I did some digging. I wanted to know how and why this happened to me. Why was he let out on bail for such a serious crime? He is a juvenile and he didn't have any prior convictions. He attacked me on November 5th while he was on bail. He had the usual bail conditions: no drinking or drugs, must reside in that particular care home, and abide by an 8 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. curfew. 8 p.m. is well and truly dark here in Cairns.
I struggle to understand how someone who grabbed a woman and violently tried to rape her behind a dumpster was allowed out at night to hunt down another woman. Me. Something I haven't felt comfortable making public is that my attacker is a juvenile. I can only try to describe the feeling I felt when I was told he was a kid. I felt pathetic and weak. Hearing him described as a kid feels like a punch in the stomach. How could someone nearly half my age get the better of me in so many ways? Sentencing started at 9 a.m. on Monday, June the 28th. I chose to read my victim impact statement in person, another job I created for myself. I wanted the court to see me as Jade the woman, not Jade the name on some documents. It was dark when he attacked me, so I really couldn't remember any significant features, other than the way he smelt, the fact he was bigger than me, and he had facial hair. The court had video evidence from the first victim and DNA from mine. I walked into the courtroom and I was immediately hit with a rush of feelings. I immediately searched for him and spotted him. He was huge. I'm estimating, but I would say he was 6'3" and around 90 kilos. I couldn't believe how big he was. I then had to walk by him to sit in the box and read my statement. As I walked by him, I was trying to not cry, but my face gave me away. I felt my cheeks trembling and my mouth turn into a frown that I just couldn't control. I read my statement and looked at him 5 times, and he just looked at his lap the entire time. Seeing his face was scary because now, when I do have those moments of flashbacks, the person is real. It's not a shadow, it's not a figure or someone I have just made up, it's him. The judge thanked me for my bravery, and I went and sat down with the 2 people that came to support me. When I sat down, I realized I was surrounded by his family. For the next 5 to 10 minutes, I was just looking at the back of his neck in disbelief. I had moments of vividly remembering the terror, and then I felt strong and lucky to have escaped him. The court went through what I think must be the usual things, but then they started talking about other cases. One where the woman had been raped and the other being an attempted rape. They spoke about what sentence was handed down to each of them. I couldn't understand why they were bringing up similar cases. I have now learned this is a thing called precedence. I do understand how and why this is a thing, but how can they only discuss the sentence and not if it worked? Did the attacker or criminal finish their sentence and then get out and attack another woman? Did their sentence work? Isn't that the point of jail? The judge also spoke about sealing the case once he turned 18. I knew this meant that if he was well behaved, this wouldn't affect him once he turned 18. Again, I understand the need for this in different cases, but I was sure, so sure that the judge wouldn't let this happen. If I had to live with this, then so did he. When he pled guilty, before sentencing, he was ordered to undergo a psych evaluation. The court read the report, the final words being along the lines of, "Highly likely to offend again." I felt sick. I still feel sick. I have no doubt he will do this again and worse. At times, the family were quite vocal, and the mum, for a solid 5 minutes, repeated with actions that it wasn't rape, it didn't go in, it was just touching. My heart broke a little bit, but I also felt sadness for him, my attacker. Was this his normal? After being in the courtroom for 2 hours, the judge handed down her sentence, which is 3.5 years. He has served 11 months, which is included in that sentence. But the kicker is he will be eligible for release after serving only half of his sentence, if he is well behaved. He could be out next year. I will be told when he is released and where he is released to. As part of his sentence, he has to commit to rehabilitation for sexual offenders in jail and once he's released. I asked whether the rehab program would have been offered to him after he attacked the first victim. The lawyer said probably not. So he violently attacked one woman and went to jail for 3 months because he didn't have a prior record. He has now attacked 2 women and will probably only be in jail for 1.5 years with rehab. The judge said to him, "If you do this again, you will go to jail for longer. So hey, attack one more woman and then you will be punished." He attacked me on bail. What will stop him from attacking another woman when he is let out? Nothing. I am here because I want to start a conversation. The consequence is not enough. The court system needs to reevaluate their youth sentencing guidelines. He should not have been out on bail in the first place. The community should be made aware when high-risk offenders move into the area. Sexual offenders need stricter supervision. A predator is a predator. Crimes of this magnitude aren't a phase. It's not stealing a car or getting mixed up with the wrong crowd. A sexual offender is a sexual offender.